and that he was just a clear-cut standout from everybody. Tiger fans, there's been some match sim happening today on Friday the 5th of December at Punt Road. Not a full-scale game, but more of a 12v12 or a 10v10, and it went across 3 hours, led to believe, and it sounded like it was a pretty intense session with some pretty cool things to come from it, which is good. And like always, there was a small cohort of training watchers there at Punt Road, led by Caesar from Punt Road End, who's an absolute superstar. Make sure if you're on Punt Road End, get around Caesar and his training report. He's an absolute legend. Before we go any further, I do still want to clarify as well that I do speak to Caesar offline about all things Richmond, and with that is obviously getting his blessing to talk about the training notes that he provides on the forum as well. It's just doing a bit of a service to fill in all other Richmond people who aren't on public forums, just with what's happening with the club. And it's what he does is amazing, and his work, needs to be sort of seen and heard far and wide, because we're all Richmond nuffies just craving a football update essentially. So Caesar and HK Tiger, who does quite a bit of work as well with the reports, you're absolute superstars, and make sure we give them some love. But for me, the most exciting thing about this report is I start to feel a little bit of validation about some of my earlier comments about my hype and my support and building of Maurice Rioli Jr, that I feel like he's going to have a big year in 2026. And that wasn't always met with a lot of positivity from people. Some people are very negative about Maurice, which confuses me a little bit. I can understand why they may be nervous about him, but I don't know why the negativity. But anyway, that to one side. What was the big note from today from a lot of the track watchers was that Maurice Jr was unbelievably good across this 3-hour period. So keep in mind, I think it sounds like they were playing sort of full ground, but with less players. I think it was 12v12. So a lot of full ground running up and back, overlap running, chasing, like the whole works. And everyone had highlighted how well Maurice Jr had gone in this whole thing. Some saying it was arguably the best training session they've seen Maurice Rioli Jr complete, and that he was just a clear-cut standout from everybody. That's what we want to see. And yeah, it makes me excited. It truthfully does. It truthfully does. Sam Lawler, though, just going through some of the notes across the training report, Sam Lawler's skills and vision on clear display looked a level above. And then you couple that with Ben Serple's fitness report that we had today as well, with Sam saying that he's covered, I think it was 11 kilometres from football running, which is the first time he's been able to do that since this time last year, and he's 4 months post-surgery as well. So good to see Sam Lawler out there sort of smashing it and doing what he does best. Taj Houghton continued to impress onlookers with his skills, his vision, positioning, decision-making, all the things that we want Taj Houghton to do. And I know the Rising Star is effectively meaningless. I get it. It's just a bit of a showpiece award. It doesn't have much attached to it, but shit, it'd be nice if he won it, wouldn't it? I mean, I know we don't tend to get a lot of nominations and votes in this area for whatever reasons that might be. I know the Greeners on the Club podcast has a bit to say about that. But look, Taj is going to be up there. He's going to make a big difference to us in 2026. We saw a little bit of it in 2025. Obviously didn't have any real significant training behind him, but you knew the bare bones was there of a quality player. So I'm extraordinarily glad that we took the punt on him. Lynch involved with everything, clunking all his marks. Again, more and more people are catching on to Lynch being a real presence, a real force out there and just leading the way. And again, tying back to Serple's fitness report, that this is the most amount of preseason training Lynch has done this side of Christmas in 2 seasons. So that's a big deal. That's a very big deal when it comes into leading into 2026. So long may it continue. And you got to give a shout out to Ben Serple here as well. I know there's been a lot of conjecture about some of the injuries sustained to our younger players in their first year. Unfortunately, I think that's a little bit par for the course sometimes. It's a little bit hit and miss with young kids coming into their AFL environment for the first time. And if it's a very different program to what they're used to as well, it still sucks and it's still shit, don't get me wrong. But if you look at the other side of the ledger, we had struggled for a long time to keep Tom Lynch and Dion Prestia in particular, and Jacob Hopper even, on the park for substantial periods of time. And you fast forward to now, and we've got Lynch doing the most pre-season he's ever done in the last 2 or 3 years. Dion Prestia the same on the back of his last 13 games of the year. So it's just good that we're able to keep the older guys energized and going and keeping them on the park. So it's going to help us quite a bit. In the rehab group, though, Luke Trainer doing a lot of run-throughs. It's been about 2 weeks now, so yeah, hopefully everything's going well there. Jacob Hopper, similar, and Serple did mention that he's one that they're really managing the workload. Lane Curvis, same thing, managing workload. Banks and Vlosten, both on light run-throughs. Obviously, Vlosten on the back of his recovery from surgery. And Hugo Ralph-Smith was in the rehab group as well. Not sure if that was planned or what's happening there, but that's where he was. Jasper Alger was absent today, which is a shame because he was smashing it. So reading from Caesar, so 4 periods of match sim throughout the 3-hour session, warm-up, then some drills, then into the first 2 periods. Then after some more drills, came back for the other 2. It's an interesting way to break it up, actually. I don't mind it. What do we got? There were 4 teams of about 10 or 12, and each team completed just 2 periods. This is interesting. This is a few times this has been noted by people watching training, that there does always seem to be someone put in a coloured bib and does what Caesar refers to as the Kane Lambert type role. And it's not always the same player. So I think I remember him mentioning that role was sort of a player that floats in between the centre of the ground, but can play for both sides in terms of link up and chain up play. Today it was Tyler Sunzi that was doing it. So used as a distributor and a bit of a focal point when the ball was coming out of the back line. And yeah, maybe they are just throwing a few names around to see what lands and to see who does the job well. I actually don't mind the Sunzi one because even though there's a little bit of conjecture about maybe his commitment to contests and things like that, which he can work on and he did get better at, and hopefully he keeps getting better at. But from a complete skill perspective, the kid can use the footy really well, one of the best at the club. So if you're going to be actively trying to get the ball into someone's hands to make something happen, I actually don't mind this as an option. And maybe it's a way to get his numbers up a bit more, like as in disposal numbers. And if he gets some confidence and knows he's sort of an important link in the chain, we might see him actually take his game to another level and regain that confidence that he was showing in his under 18 year and in his early years at the club as well. So that's interesting that Sunzi was doing that, and I'm all for that. I think there's something within that. A couple of things that caught Caesar's eye. Maurice Jr. again was the first one off the list. He did acknowledge that he was probably the best training session he's ever seen from him. He covered as much ground as anyone with full up and down running at speed, and to his surprise, didn't miss a target either. It's a good point because people will often say, oh yeah, he can run, he can tackle, but he misses targets. And it's probably been a fair enough call over the last few years. I felt personally in the back half of this year, I thought he really improved his disposal. He seemed a bit more confident. He was taking off dangerous kicks and executing them really well, but it's something he needs to do a lot more consistently. So to hear that he was doing that well at training is good. And I think I like to hear it in this context where it's high volume running, high repeat efforts. So there's fatigue, there's pressure, there's intensity, and to still hit the targets is a really, really good thing. And so from a fitness standpoint, he's giving himself every chance possible to make an impact in 2026. And I'm still campaigning that there is a world where he can rotate through the midfield. And I know I've copped some shit in the comments about that call in the last couple of videos, but you start to read and see things like this, and you think, hang on, it's real, it's a chance. I don't see how it can't be a chance. And we need it to change things up. And I'm not saying a fully fledged midfielder, just as a rotation. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Hopefully he keeps going though. Sam Cumming in the fluoro cap on today. Apparently someone tackled him though, but everything was all okay. Cumming was good throughout it, but he has a great vertical leap in the center of the ground, taking a really nice overhead mark. And that was when Caesar had his first Isaac Heaney moment. Obviously Cumming had been referred to as a bit of an Isaac Heaney type in the draft, in the lead up and things like that. So hopefully we see a bit more of that from Sam Cumming. Liam Fawcett was one who did get a mention a couple of times from people that he was really prominent, presenting high, but it was his ground ball recovery and then streaming into the forward line with his flowing locks, as Caesar puts it, on multiple occasions that make you stop and take notice and go, okay, what's this? I don't mind it. And I've said this before, you can't help but respect the guy for backing himself in to get a spot ahead of these other forwards that we've just drafted and to make an impact. And you could tell by photos and things like that, he returned in some seriously good condition, Liam Fawcett. And we said last year that the game he played against Port didn't do anything wrong. I thought he looked okay. His last few VFL games after coming back from injury looked really, really good. So, look, maybe there's a chance on offer early for round one or not long after game time for him. The question becomes, who's it in place of? You have to feel like that. I feel that Lynch is a lock. And I also feel that Jonty Fall's a lock based on everything you sort of see and hear. So the question mark, I guess, then maybe comes over Harry Armstrong. I don't think he's done anything wrong. I just sort of think from the outside looking in, maybe it's Fawcett and Armstrong competing for the last big spot, because I do strongly believe we will go in with 3. And I really do believe that Jonty Fall and Lynch are 1 and 2, and it's just who makes up the third. Who would you all pick? If it comes down to it at the moment, based on what we know, if you're picking between Harry Armstrong and Liam Fawcett for the last spot, who would you guys go with? Let us know in the comments below. But competition for spots, though, awesome. That's what you want. That is how you turn yourself into a better football club and drive better standards and get better outcomes. So more of that, please. Caesar goes on with Lawler and Smith, as per their schedule, both train fully. Lawler's a star, so hardly needs repeating. Smith is pulling the trigger a bit quicker and will need to continue to do so in the heat of battle when it arrives. That's good. I mean, Smith obviously put on a bit of size we saw in the off-season. And like we've said, Smith's in a really precarious spot because the position he plays is already occupied. You've obviously got Banks, you've got Short, you've got Brown, you've got even Luke Traynor by extension can play there. And now even Sam Grill can play halfback as well. I don't know whether Smith can adapt and play further up the field. I haven't quite seen that at VFL level. Not to say he can't do it, but if he's striving and aiming to play in that halfback role, he's going to have to seriously elevate himself to get ahead of some of these guys. So it's good to hear he's pulling the trigger quicker. He knows how to find the ball. He's now just got to work out how to become the most damaging version of himself to make it to the point where you can't not pick him. Again, though, there's still the selection headache of who comes out and where does he fit. Another good thing. I know it's a headache, but it's a good headache to have. Tash Houghton looking better in link-up play every time Caesar sees him. Sam Grill not as prominent today, but still had plenty of moves. And from the SPP boys, Special K, all his marks were 1 grabs, but they weren't in a contested situation. Appears to have soft hands, ran down the wing and took a couple of bounces. Kicking action looks fine. And at one point, kicked a lace-out pass to Samson. Oh, sorry, a lace-out pass was kicked to Samson, but Special K made a desperate lunge and got a nice spoil in with his long reach. And Burton gets plenty of the ball, was pretty much the summation on that front. So we're still in a very interesting spot with who we take out of the SPP players. I mean, there's no obligation to take either of them, I guess, but I don't know. I still feel like if it was me, I think we may lean towards the Ruckman. It's a bit of a longer-term project. I don't know. What does everyone think? I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer. I just feel like when it comes to Burton, that we probably have already enough coverage and players in that player type. So it's not like we're short in that area, whereas we probably do have that need for a ruck to come in at some point, not with the expectation to play well next year, but in future years. So I think there's a big decision to have to be made on that. And I don't know when you have to make it by, though. Does anybody know? Do we know when we have to make a call on all of that stuff by? But anyway, that was the training report. The other thing of note as well is there seems to be a real... people are able to easily tell that there's a significant difference from what we're doing this year to what we were doing last year. So there seems to be a lot more direction, a lot more structure and game plan and tactics and style and things like that, which is everything that we've all been wanting and hoping to see for 2026. So it sounds like that's what they're training, what they're trying to execute. So hopefully that means we will start to see a bit more of that in games in 2026. But again, massive shout out to Caesar, to HK as well for all their work on the training reports from Punt Road End. Make sure you get around him if you're over there. It just keeps all of us Tiger Nuffies informed, and this is merely just a way for me to put my own sort of interpretation on it, to extrapolate and talk about what that might mean and how it looks for the side, and then just to help inform any other Tiger fans who aren't on online forums. That's all it really is. So that's it for Match Sim Friday, folks. Hopefully we have a few more Match Sims in the works for every Friday, which would be nice. But make sure you like and subscribe for more Tiger content. And until the next one, go Tigers.